One of the Leafs' best prospects has just been traded in some shocking news. Ryan Reaves finally gets his first goal as a Toronto Maple Leaf, and William Nylander's 17-game point streak to start the season has finally been broken. Guys, my name is Darius Domingues, and this is Leafs Digest. But guys, before we get into the video any further, we noticed that about 75% of our viewers are not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you could do me and the other content creators on this channel a favor and go ahead and hit that subscribe button. But without further ado, let's get right into it. The Leafs lose in Chicago. It was another afternoon game. There's been a lot of afternoon games recently. Of course, with it being Thanksgiving in the States, it was an afternoon game in Chicago. But there was a lot of lineup changes coming into today's game. If we take a look here, we got, Connor Timmins draws back into the lineup. Ryan Reaves comes back into the lineup. Yarncroke was pretty banged up earlier in the week, and wasn't playing at practice, or was kind of feeling things out throughout practice. But we got some healthy scratches as well. Simone Benoit, Alex Steeves, who was just called up, and Bobby McMahon, who I thought has played well. Some interesting changes. Nice to see Reaves get into the lineup. And a lot of these changes people were complaining about, but honestly, it's the first half of a back-to-back, and you're playing a Chicago team that doesn't have a lot of skill, even though they ended up beating the Leafs. So I thought that was pretty interesting lineup changes. Nice to see those guys get back in. Connor Timmins, had a decent game, had some looks on the power play, didn't really make too many glaring mistakes. And for his first game back, I thought he looked fine, and I think he could be a real nice addition, quote unquote, to the Leafs blue line here as the season goes along. Nylander's point streak, as I mentioned, ends in this one. Unfortunately, he had a breakaway in overtime that hit the post, the crossbar, then the other post and out. Would have been so nice to continue that point streak in overtime on that breakaway. Would have been super nice, but unfortunately, that's hockey and it does not work out that way. But some positives in this game. Robertson and Domi. Domi connects with Robertson on a great pass through the ice to the other side, taps it in, goes posting in, and Nick Robertson has points in 5 of 7 of his total games in the NHL this year. He has been a revelation being called up from the Marlies. Has been so nice to see him succeed, and the Leafs need that depth scoring as well. So it's been just a little bit of a breath of fresh air. He looked great all game too. He's really bringing the speed in his legs every game. Like when he's in on the forecheck, he's just in there. Him and Yarncroke are the hardest skaters, and it look like they're just trying the hardest out there all the time. I don't know if it's like a wasting energy type of thing, like some of the other guys get around the ice. Like Nylander is so seamless with this skating, but Robertson just looks like he's trying so hard, which is nice. And then guys, it finally happened. All right, it finally happened. Ryan Reaves gets on the board. Let's go. Ryan Reaves' goal in the second period. Nice little tip. Puts it in the net. Nothing special, just a scramble play. They all get to the net. And that was Ryan Reaves' first goal that he was on the ice for, a goal for the Maple Leafs this season. He's been on the ice for, I think, 12 against. That was his first goal for, and it ended up being his, which is a great way to score that. And as you can see, the bench was just going crazy for him. All right, they love to see Ryan Reaves get a goal for the Maple Leafs, so that is some positives. Reaves has been dumped on all year except for the first 2 games of the year by fans and by the media, and I think it's just nice to see him get on the board. And he did get into some rough stuff later in the game as well. We'll get into that in a little bit, but first, back to some negatives. We're gonna bounce a little bit. All right, back to some negatives. The Leafs and their bench minors. All right, they get another penalty for a bench minor. They have the most in the league with, I think, 9 now. They have to clean it up. And you see all the players looking at the iPads. What did I do wrong here? What did I do wrong there? This is what the Leafs should be watching on the bench. All right, how to count to the number 5. All right, because they always have 6 or 7 or 8 guys on the ice. All right, learn to count to the number 5. That's what you should be watching on your iPads on the bench, not what you did wrong every single play. Oh, I shot that wide. No. Learn to count to the number 5. All right. We need to clean up these bench minors. It is a serious issue, and it's been an issue. They're letting in goals on these penalty kills. All right. And it just gets the penalty kill out there. It's tiring out these guys who play on the penalty kill, like Marner. You have to, get them out on regular shifts. It screws up your whole lineup for the next couple minutes after a penalty kill. They just have to get into the zone. All right, you got to be quicker with your changes. The coaches got to be sharper with telling who's going next. Like they just got to get. It's the worst in the league by far. They just got to get it together, and it's been an issue all year to this point, and it continues to be an issue in this game. And the Leafs finished the second period completely on their heels because of that. Chicago was pouring on the pressure. I was surprised they didn't tie the game in the second. They ended up getting one late, but man, the Leafs were absolutely on their heels there late in the second. It was not good. Then Jason Dickinson scores a hat trick to put the Leafs. The Leafs gave up a 3-1 lead, and it ties the game. Jason Dickinson's hat trick there, former Guelph Storm. And the Leafs, I find, always play down to their opponents, right? I find that very interesting that they'll always play up to a Boston. It'll be a tight game. They might lose in overtime, but they'll always play down to the lesser opponents. They'll never take over a game. Where were the big guys today? Nylander didn't get a point. We've been getting a lot out of him, but he didn't get a point in this game. That's disappointing. Marner has not been so... He's been surprising in all the wrong ways. I'm surprised he's not taking over games like we know he can, and he had a good chance there in the overtime period as well. But he should be taking over these types of games. Matthews, again, he looked kind of lackluster in some shifts, just kind of coasting out there. I didn't like that. I didn't like the push that he didn't push Foligno back in that one scrum, laughing a little bit, and we were giving Bertuzzi a hard time for that a couple weeks ago. Would have liked to see that. But man, they played down to their opponents. It's been a problem for years, even going back to the Babcock era. It's didn't like that, but I did like some pushback. All right, Domi gets absolutely destroyed in the corner, and then Reaves goes after Jones right away. There's some retaliation. I like to see it. Domi's going after the guy that took him down. Like to see that stuff, right? This is why we signed players like that. That's Brad Treliving looking at this game. This is why we signed players like that, right? Good. You want to see that. Reaves takes off Seth Jones off the ice for about 3 minutes until they got a whistle there. That's a good trade-off. Seth Jones is Chicago's probably second best player and their number one minutes eater. You want to get a guy like that off the ice. It gives you a chance to win. So I did like that trade-off. That was very good for Ryan Reaves there. Did not mind that at all. The game continues to get more physical. I mentioned that Matthews and Foligno kind of got in the scrum there. Would have liked to see, Matthews throw a little bit of a punch there, but that's all right. You don't want to see Matthews taken off the ice. Bertuzzi absolutely hammers Johnson in the corner. The game gets a little bit more physical from that. Guys are taking liberties. At least nobody got hurt. That's nice, but sometimes I wish that you just punch somebody in the face. If you're the Leafs, it's been a problem for years. Just punch somebody in the face. Like somebody shot the puck in the net after Samsonov made the save and the whistle blew. Noah Gregor kind of roughs him up a little bit, but I would have liked to have seen him just punch him in the face. You know what I mean? Like take him down and tell him you're not allowed to do that. And the Leafs getting the only penalty out of that and the Blackhawks getting a power play, absolutely ridiculous. I cannot believe the offsetting garbage that happens in the NHL and the fact that the Leafs got the only penalty out of that. That is an unsportsmanlike conduct call for shooting the puck in the net after the whistle. I thought that was ridiculous. But anyway, tie game. The game goes into overtime. The Leafs have a lot of great chances. So does Chicago. Connor Bedard looks great as well. And on a weird play, the puck goes in. Chicago Blackhawks win 4-3 in overtime. I would have liked to see Samsonov have a couple more of those and stop a couple more of those. But it is what it is. He's playing better than he was earlier in the season, which is nice to see. Hopefully his confidence continues to grow. But I would have liked to have seen him make a couple of those saves, especially the first goal. And I think it was the third goal. A couple stinkers there. Even the overtime one, kind of maybe hug your post a little bit. Would have liked to see that. But some other big news regarding the Leafs today, as we move on from the game against the Chicago Blackhawks, is Fraser Minten has been traded. Now, before you completely freak out, he has not been traded from the Leafs organization, okay? He has not been traded in an NHL deal, quote unquote. He's been traded in the WHL. He was sent back to the Kamloops Blazers, where he became the captain. And he's had a pretty good year so far. But if we take a look at the trade here, he's on his way from Kamloops, where he was the captain, like I said, to the Saskatoon Blades. And if we take a look here at the details of the trade, I always find the WHL, as somebody who covered the OHL a little bit, I always find the WHL pretty interesting because you can trade first round picks. You can't in the OHL, little known fact. So yes, he makes his way to the Saskatoon Blades, who are going for it this year. They're looking at trying to capture that championship. Kamloops did not have the personnel for that, so you see this pretty often in the junior leagues a lot. You usually see it closer to January after World Juniors time, and Fraser Minten should be a part of that Canada World Junior team, but it happened a little bit earlier this year, and a good haul for the Kamloops Blazers as well. So he is on his move, on his way to a more competitive team, which is good for the Leafs. You want to see him playing some meaningful hockey. Hopefully he makes his way to the WHL finals as well. And if we take one last look at his stats so far this year, he had 4 games in the NHL, got some reps in there with the Leafs, but last year, very impressive as well, 67 points in 57 games with the Blazers. And so far this year, he has 10 points in 7 games since being sent back. And of course, he had the C. They gave him the captaincy in Kamloops. So we'll see what he does in Saskatoon. We'll keep a close eye on that, and hopefully he plays some meaningful games in the WHL in the final, and hopefully a Memorial Cup. That would be really nice to see Leafs prospect in the Memorial Cup. So best of luck to Fraser, and should be interesting to keep tabs on that the rest of the way. But guys, for some more Leafs content, check out the channel. We're going to be here all year with some news, post-game reactions, all that good stuff. So my name is Darius Domingues. This has been Leafs Digest, and we'll see you in the next video.